So, you're a business owner dedicated to the significant and sustainable growth of both you and your business. Welcome to the ADDAZERO podcast.
Hi, I'm Jay Allen from My True North and the host of the ADDAZERO podcast. Welcome to this week's episode where we're talking about walk before you can run. What do I actually mean by such a profound thing, and how does it relate to you and your business? You'll have heard me say in previous episodes the importance of understanding that as the business grows, we have to grow, and as we grow, the business needs to grow, that the two remain aligned as the business and you evolve and grow. You've also heard me mention in previous episodes that another level, another devil, and therefore being able to step up and move into what it is that the business now demands of you. And again, I've mentioned in just the last week's episode about understanding the importance of where are you in business and what do we need to do to be able to move forward to the next level, about letting go of some of the things that have led us to where we are today in order to be able to have the time and capacity to be able to move into the things that are yet to come. So what am I talking about? Learning to walk before you run. Well, I spent a little bit of time with two prospect clients, two people that are looking to work with me. We've done a one-day workshops together on one of our VIP experiences, and now looking to be able to what it would look like to work collectively over a period of time, probably through our Pillars of Progress program for both of them. And what we identified is that some of the things that they've been doing in their business aren't really that necessary. We can eradicate some of the things that they've previously been doing without any detriment to the growth and evolution of the business. Well, what are they, Jay, and how do I get some time back? I'm sure is a question on everyone's mind. The simple fact is that everyone that we work with and anyone at all as a business owner is invited to be able to do our ADDAZERO scale audit. It's a free audit and it allows us to be able to understand both the strengths and weaknesses, the opportunities, the threats, the vulnerabilities within your business that are either putting you at risk or the bottlenecks that are holding you back. And vice versa, it helps us to be able to identify the hidden opportunities within the business that you've either overlooked or aren't simply aware that exist. And by doing the audit, we can provide a tailored report to support you to understand not only where are you in business, but where are you in contrast to everybody else, the over 120,000 other businesses that have now completed the audit, of where do you sit in that playing field? And the simple fact is that depending on where you are in your business growth journey, depends on the things that are critically important to what you need to be doing on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis. And by implementing some of the things that we've either seen on social media or heard of through our business network, perhaps you've seen other people in the business hemisphere that are already doing X and Y and Z, and you've thought, well, if they're doing it, perhaps I ought to be doing it too. And that's all relevant to where are you in business, where are you trying to get to. It's not about one size fits all, because as we know, one size usually fits badly. We've got to be able to have something that's tailored to you and your business and where are you trying to get to establish that all of the activity and time and effort and resource that you apply to the business is implemented and having the right impact for what it is that you're trying to achieve. So let me just break this down into bite-sized bits and then look at perhaps some of the things that we can let go of and stop doing and still move quicker and further forward than trying to build them into our arsenal. When we first start out in business, the first day that we've given up on either a paid job or corporate, or we've been made redundant, or we've just got sick to death of the rat race and we decided to be able to set up on our own. On the first day of business, there are three critical elements that we need to put in place right there and then in order to be able to generate an income. First of all, we need some form of marketing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about a web page and a printed business card and all of that jazz. Marketing is simply a means of being able to convey a message of who you are and what you do to a prospective audience, to an audience of people that might find that of interest or values to them. Marketing is simply communicating who we are, what we do, and who we do it for. Now we need a sales process, a means that if people move towards you, having heard what it is that you do and who you do it for, who show an interest in that, who ask some more questions or move towards us, they show some form of inkling that that might be something of interest to them, then the sales process is being able to help to convert the right inquiries into paid business, to take somebody from an inquiry to a prospect to a customer. And the sales process works hand in hand with marketing. Marketing raises the awareness and attracts the people to us. And then sales' job is to be able to help understand what it is that they're looking for, to confirm that it's something that we're able to effectively provide for them, and to receive some form of payment in order for us to be able to deliver that product or service. Sales' job is to convert an inquiry into cash. Now, unless you're running a charity and you say, thanks very much for your kind donation, the other essential element is an operational element, a means of being able to deliver that product or service to the paying customer so they don't simply say, hang on a minute, I gave you some cash, you've given me nothing in return, I want a refund. So operations is all around how to be able to satisfy the customer to their need, that we have been able to provide what was offered without the need of a refund. And initially, as a startup, that's all we need. We need some way of being able to communicate with an audience. That might be through social media, that might be through going through your friends and family or your phone book, that might be going knocking on doors in your local community, but a means of being able to tell people who we are, what we do, and who we do it for. Sales' job is to be able to convert any form of inquiry or interest into paid custom. And then operations' function is to be able to service that function in order that they don't ask for a refund. And I'm sure at the very start of your journey, that will reflect well with you. You'll be able to remember those days well. However, I refer to this as shortwave radio. And you can only stay in that phase for a very short amount of time, because what you often find is that you win the work by doing lots of marketing activity and the sales' job, and then you're spending less time doing the sales and marketing whilst you're servicing that client by providing the service or products to them, that subsequently the sales and inquiries start to drop again. And we get this shortwave radio of win the work, do the work, win the work, do the work, win the work, do the work. It's not sustainable, because the moment that you stop, it quickly stops also. And therefore, we need to build some form of momentum into this in order that we can continue to grow and move forward. I often say to people, the first 30, 35,000, possibly 40,000 revenue a year is usually the most difficult and challenging to be able to win in any business, because we're still testing the market. We're still testing our message. We're still testing the means of being able to deliver that. We're still testing our pricing model. Everything that we're doing is of a first-time effort, and we're trying to understand as to what and where and when and why and how. Once we've got that established, we've now got to be able to almost segment what we do next. And depending on whether you're a service predominant business or a product prominent business, will depending on which avenue becomes the fourth most important string to the bow. If you're a product-based business, the chances are that once you've got your marketing and sales and operations in place, the next thing you need to be able to think about is your finance. You're going to be selling things on a regular basis, probably on an e-commerce shop or some means of being able to do online and selling product. You've got to find a means of being able to manage those chunks of cash that are coming in on a day-to-day, week-to-week, sometimes hour-by-hour basis, to understand where is it coming from, how am I achieving that, when is it coming to me, what's my profit cycle, where's the cash coming from, how quickly is it arriving with me, how much do I need to spend on being able to repurchase more product. We've got to understand the flow of cash through the business, and therefore understanding the financial element is probably the next pressing issue in a product-based business. So the fourth element, if we're in a service-based business, is a team member, a helper, somebody else to be able to support us and being able to look after parts of the business. Now, that might not have to be a full-time salaried member of staff. It might be a friend or colleague. It might be an associate. It might be swapsies. It might be an outsourced element to the business, but somebody else to be able to help and support us in an aspect of the business. And it could very well be that if we've got a marketing and a sales element going on initially, that what we might choose to do is to be able to outsource or at least have some help and support in the back office side of the business that allows us to be able to have more time and effort to concentrate on servicing the clients as we move forward. If we're the fee earner right now and the primary or the sole fee earner, then having some back office help and support, be that either a VA or a bookkeeper or someone to do some marketing scheduling for us, might be of benefit in order to be able to enable us to be able to have more time and effort to be able to help and grow the business move forward. Whichever is the fourth element, be you a product-based business or a service-based business, whichever is the fourth element to add, then the fifth element, as we continue to grow and evolve and move forward, is to swap back over again. And if you were a product-based business and you concentrated on the financial element of understanding the cash flow management through the business, then the fifth element is to be able to start to bring other people into the business to help and support you to grow. And if the fourth element, because you're a service-based business, is around team and about building help and support in the business, then the fifth element, which should quickly follow, is to understand cash flow management and to be able to understand the flow of money into, through, and through from the business. So whichever element that you did fourth, the fifth element is to then reverse that, so we've got around business. And in my experience, having looked at over 120,000 different audits, I can see predominantly that the SME market, particularly the micro market and the smaller one-man band solopreneur, all the way through to about 3, 4, 5 members of staff in a business, predominantly sits on either a 3, a 4, or a 5-pronged model. The marketing, sales, operations side of things, and then either finance or team, and then vice versa. And I've seen that about 85% of businesses that we've audited fall into one of those 3 categories. However, as the business continues to grow and evolve and move beyond multiple 5 figures into multiple 6 figures, and as we move from 6 figures into the low 7 figures, other aspects become as important so as not to create either a bottleneck or some form of challenge to us that prevents us from continuing to grow and evolve and move forward. And that's where ADDAZERO really comes into its own in being able to help understand not only what those other 3 aspects are, but also as to how they correlate with everything that we've already got in the business. Again, like I say, it starts by starting off with the ADDAZERO survey to find out as to where exactly you are, to identify the strengths and things and the hidden opportunities that you're already in and got available to you, but then also to identify some of those risks and those vulnerabilities and when they become more applicable to you. So what I talk about, don't run before you can walk. There's no point applying multi-6 or multi-7 figure strategies to a business that's still at multi-5 level income. We've got to be able to understand that depending on where you are in your business growth cycle will depend on what's important and when to implement it. So rather than thinking that because I've seen other people doing X and Y and Z, it might simply be that they're a bigger business or a more established business, or they've already got some of the other things in place. And our job is to be able to identify where are you in your current business growth cycle, and what are the things that are important and critical for you having in place and working effectively, being able to sweat the asset and ensure that everything that we're doing is growing the business, both externally and internally, that you're growing as it's growing and vice versa. And perhaps some of the things that you'd like to do are relevant to your business, but not just yet. It might be that we have them on the to-do board, the nice-to-haves board, that as you get to X, the new level introduces a new devil. Other things that we now need to build back into the business to start to implement and give considerations to. One of the most prominent flaws in a business that's growing and then subsequently plateaus is its inability or unwillingness to acknowledge that there is the need to be able to either let go of some of the prior stuff or being able to implement and introduce some of the additional things that are required in order for the business to continue to grow and evolve and scale and move forward. So if that's of something that is of relevance to you right now, if today's hit a nerve and you want to know more about what those 3 hidden elements are, then the first thing to do is to be able to take that free scale audit, addazero.co.uk/free/scale/audit, in order to be able to understand where are you now and what are the important things that you should be working on and getting absolutely nailed and working effectively. What are the KPIs that we need to set in each area of that business in order to know and have the data to support the growth. And what are the things that we might choose to be able to implement at some stage in the future? And based on our research of over 120,000 other businesses, we can now predict when you need to have these in place so they don't have a detrimental impact on your growth trajectory, that you don't plateau or create a bottleneck. Again, if that's something of interest to you, all you need to do is to be able to get in touch, and we'd love to have a conversation with you about how to be able to significantly and sustainably scale up both you and your business. God bless, take care. I'll see you again next week.
That's all for this episode. As always, we really thank you for listening and welcome your comments, thoughts, and suggestions. So please do drop us a line by emailing podcast@mytruenorth.biz. And don't forget, if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button on whichever platform you're listening to this through. And tell your colleagues and business network all about who we are. You've been listening to the ADDAZERO podcast, presented by Jay Allen. Brought to you in association with My True North, the UK's leading ethical coaching company.